What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Bianconerio Zone for another live show. It's not going to be a very long one, also because I'm late, because I'm having issues with my camera and mic. It's not really in sync, so apologies for that. Gonna fix that after the live, but already wasted 10 minutes, so apologies for that. It's not going to be a very long live again. It's going to be about, obviously, Pau Torres. It's going to be about the sporting director and apparently Allegri's involvement in choosing the next sporting director. And I'm going to touch a little bit on the Atalanta game, but I'm going to do a preview. I'm going to record a preview after this, that will drop tomorrow. So without knowledge about who's injured, who will be there, what Allegri talked about in his presser tomorrow, because his presser will be very early. It will be almost at 12 p.m. for us, very early. So that's that. But before we get into it, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, go watch me and Julian's podcast after this. Make sure to like that one as well. But yeah, let's go. Already see a comment. I will bring that up as I go on, or I will discuss that as I go on. But the big news is Pau Torres. I think when did the news drop? Because I recorded the podcast with Julian yesterday evening, around the same time, and I think it was before that. Sport came out saying, so Sport is a news outlet in Spain. You might say it's a Tutto Sport for Barcelona, but they came out saying that we were kind of close to Pau Torres. Like, we talked with him, he's okay with it basically, and the club Villarreal is open to let him go, and talks are kind of well on their way, and we are in the driver's seat. Basically, that was the news from Sport yesterday evening, and everybody was like, "Okay, it's Sport. Do we really need to believe that outlet? Do we need to believe basically outlets that we kind of mock, in the past?" And that's fair, because I was like, yeah, take that with a pinch of salt, obviously. But then this morning, Fabrizio Romano came out and he kind of confirmed what was said in that article, that we have had talks, that we are very interested, that he is on the list as one of the targets. And then as Romano goes on, he usually does, he downplays every bit of news, saying it depends on blah, 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 this and this, which kind of makes sense in this situation. But it's not a complete bullshit story. I think we can kind of confirm that. I saw people saying, "Oh, but Mirko Di Natale said there's nothing going on." Good, he has his sources, which is good, fine. I don't really discuss him as a source, because I don't think very highly as him as real inside info. He's always kind of late. He always just confirms things, so I don't have reasons to believe that he has inside information, really, because he's always late, or just confirming things, or news on players like Rugani and stuff, where it might be easier to get info because it's very close to home, basically, but fans don't really care about that news. So that's what I think. Now, it's a real story. Would he fit us? Well, obviously, because we need somebody on the left in that position. We need somebody who can kind of play out with his feet. It's not the main target. It's not the main key factor for me. He needs to defend. Like, can he defend? Okay, and we can build on from that. But he's good on the ball, and he can defend. Now, the price tag wasn't mentioned. It wasn't mentioned. The only thing mentioned in the article was that he has a 50 million release clause, and that's it. There wasn't mention about a lesser fee or a higher fee, or I don't know what. It was just 50 million release clause, and that's it. Now, I do recall last summer, Man U were getting linked with him a little bit. There was talks from good journalists, like English journalists, saying that Villarreal are open to discuss that release clause, also because Pau Torres stayed at the club when he was basically promised he could leave and all those things. So that's why Villarreal was open to negotiate on, lowering the 50 million release clause. Because I will say it now, We're not paying 50 mil. I don't think he's worth 50 mil. I don't think we should be paying 50 mil for him. You know, I don't believe we should be paying 50 mil. Now the comment says 20 to 30 mil tops. He's worth more, in my opinion. You will need to pay more. You will need to pay more because we paid 40 plus for Bremer, who played for mid-table team Torino. Pau Torres played high-level games. He did. You know, he schooled us in the stadium as well. So you're gonna pay something around that money. Now, second part is, because that was also debate when the news came out saying, do we need a defender? Hell yeah. We need a defender. We need a center back. We have center backs, but they're not good enough. There's a difference between having numbers and having actually good numbers, because Rugani is done, Bonucci is done, and Danilo just can't defend. You cannot rely on Danilo for an entire season to compete as a center back. You just can't. You know, if you are serious about competing, serious about getting back to winning ways, Danilo cannot be your starting center back for 38, 43 games during a season. You just can't, you know, because he's not good enough. You know, he will get cooked once every single time, and that will cost you, like we have seen already this season and in previous seasons, previous years, even when he wasn't at the club. He's just not great at defending. Like, it is what it is. The club can push the Capitano, he can be a great dude for the locker room, all those things, but the ability on the pitch, he's not a center back. You know, he's not a good center back. So we do need a center back. That's 100% sure, in my opinion. Like, we need one, and we need a right and a left back, obviously. That back line, me and Julian discussed that on the podcast, in my opinion, and Julian said the same thing. That back line is the worst part of our squad. You know, it's the worst part. If you need to fix one thing, it's that back line. It's terrible. Like, it's absolutely terrible. Like, it's quality-wise, it's poor. It's really, really poor. It hasn't been this poor for a decade. Like, it's just bad. You know, the quality in it is missing. Like, real quality is missing, you know, throughout that back line. So we need a defender. Does it need to be Pau Torres? No. You know, he fits the description, what we needed for a very long time. We were linked with him last summer as well. But we need a center back. And again, I'm not going to go in depth on Pau Torres because it's very early. It could be just a rumor and we could end up with a random defender. I have no idea, you know. But the fact that this news is coming out very early, I'm shocked. And it's being confirmed by good journalists, gives me a little bit of positive. A little bit. Because it's linked to what's going to happen to the club management-wise, off the pitch, all those things. But you can look at both ways. You can say, yes, it's linked to who comes in management-wise, what happens with penalties, I don't know. Or you can look at in the flip side and be like, okay, the fact that they're already holding talks with these level of players, do they know something? Or in terms of, will they get punished? Or in terms of the money is still there? One of the two. You can look at in both ways. You can be very negative, or you can be very pessimistic, and you can be very optimistic in the way you look at it, basically. But I think it would be a good move. I'm just happy that we are, quote unquote, in for the center back. You know, that was my biggest fear, that we will not be looking at a center back. And the fact that we are very early in the process, already being linked with center backs, I'm happy. I can ask for more. We should ask for more, but I wasn't expecting this. I wasn't expecting this at all. So that's already a big positive. Now, the second part, I will read out first. I will read out the news first. The tweets. The tweets. Jesus Christ, the chat. Yeah, not the sporting director, because I'm going to discuss that later on. The Gordon League decided how much players are worth now. They admitted that they can, because they said the Pjanic and Arthur deal is not a crime, which was funny because they pushed it as a crime for months and months, or the media did, it is what it is. Olaf Hi, Johnny. All of a sudden, I think Torres is very possible if you come into the Champions League, especially if we win Europa. Okay. The second part of the show is that we are looking for a sporting director. Like, more and more sources are pushing it now. We are looking to bring in a sporting director, and we need to. And by the looks of it, it's gonna be somebody outside of the club, completely outside of, not Paratici being a scout coming through and he coming through, all those things. A good, like I said it on the podcast, the guy from the under 23s can be very good at his job. I don't know. The problem I have is that it's always in-house. It's not thinking outside of the box. It's not bringing in somebody with fresh ideas, somebody who has not been quote unquote infected with the club. That brings in completely fresh ideas that maybe could make the club think in a different way. That's what I want. And apparently, Di Marzio, Nico Schira, Fabiana Della Valle, if people rate him, because I will bring her story up as well, are pushing that it's going to be Giuntoli from Napoli and that it's already advanced, that John Elkann already had talks with Giuntoli, and that Giuntoli already hinted towards De Laurentiis that he's going to leave and that he's going to bring the main scout from Napoli to the club. That's also an interesting thing, that because if John Elkann says yes, you can do that, it kind of tells me, okay, they're giving kind of full trust to somebody who comes in from outside of the club, who has no real ties with the club, isn't in-house, grown up, like Paratici through the ranks and made it to whatever. It's somebody completely out of the box, completely away from the club, and they would allow him to bring his main scout, so the guy he really trusts, who he works with closely. That tells me that, or like that, not tells me, that suggests or makes me hope, I will say that John Elkann is basically looking at it in a different way now, and is basically saying, okay, proper structure. I bring two guys in, or bring the main guy in, and I'm kind of giving him the control. I'm giving him the keys, because lately, when Agnelli was in charge, it felt like he was having a say in things that happen on the field. I don't like that. You're a president, off the field is your thing. Guys who have ability and know how to operate in transfers, all those things, they should be at the forefront, and they should be making those decisions. Money, okay, I get it. You need to ask certain things, but like player-wise, the way you recruit, all those things should be a one guy. He should be making the decisions. So that's a positive, in my opinion, because if it's going to be Giuntoli, it's going to be finally, I've said it so many times, people are probably bored of hearing it, finally somebody not coming from the under 23s or coming from the Fiat factory basically and jumping in, or coming from being team boss at Ferrari and jumping in out of nowhere and then saying, I have no clue what football is all about, how the world of football works. And you're like, what? Like, weird. We need somebody like this, because at the club now we have Calvo, Di Maria, we have Calvo, Allegri, and 10 lawyers and bankers. That's what we have at the club. That's it, Now, the Pau Torres thing is interesting, because we are, quote unquote, having talks. Who's having those talks? Because the story as well was today, they want to basically wrap it up soon for Giuntoli, because they want to involve him for this summer, which is already mad, because usually you prepare for the summer months in advance. Same for Napoli. He's probably preparing the transfer season for Napoli, and then he's telling De Laurentiis, let me go. I have 1 year on my deal. Please let me go. You figure it out here with the transfers. So it's a very weird situation. I'm not 100% sure it's going to happen. But according to the sources, he is the main guy. He's the number one target. He's the guy John Elkann had talks with. Now, the Fabiana Della Valle, sorry. And after last week, I have no respect for her, because he reported the bust-up between Allegri and Marotta. When Allegri asked in the presser who said that, he was quiet. And 1 second later, excuse me, because Allegri said who said it, he was quiet. She was quiet. And 5 seconds later, she asked Allegri a complete different question, like nothing happened. you know, weird. But she reported that Allegri is against bringing in Giuntoli and he wants something else, which makes absolutely no sense. Like, it makes no sense because your sporting director is going to be there for very much, very for a longer time than your coach. It should be, you know, it should be. Or in a perfect situation, they both stay for a very long time. But you know how football works. It's very unlikely. The fact that she was reporting that Allegri is saying no to Giuntoli, if that's true, if you're a club owner, if you're John Elkann, you should, you know, stop, pause, and be like, what's going on here? You know, you're the coach. You shouldn't really have a say on the sporting director. You should just work with him, basically, because if you know how Giuntoli operates, he does business in complete different ways with players he brings in. Yes, and Napoli had a lower budget, but I think that's why John Elkann as well wants him, because he can work on a lower budget and still bring in good players that will fit the system and will fit what the coach is asking for. My feeling is that they promised Allegri kind of a power, something about power, because that was reported when he came in that he had a say. That say will kind of disappear if Giuntoli comes in. Otherwise, he's not coming. So I think that's the big issue, you know. But if you need to make a decision, the decision is made quickly because the results are terrible. You know, they're just shocking, the results. The decision to keep Allegri and not bring in Giuntoli, or move on Allegri and bring in Giuntoli, should be made quickly, because the trajectory we're on is terrible. You're probably going to sack or Allegri at one point, or you're not going to give him a new deal after that. And then what? You have a sporting director you didn't really want, but the coach who's now gone wants. It's weird. Like, the sporting director should be on the same line as the club in terms of vision, and he should be setting out the new project. The club can push, we have a 4-year project and whatever. It's terrible. Like, no way they sit at the table when Allegri signed and they be like, we have a 4-year project. The first 2 years you can stink it out. That was never the case. They can push, we have a 4-year project, but they never said, the first 2 seasons we can struggle and scrape top 4. Yeah, why not? And then the third season, out of nowhere, boom, Scudetto. That's not how the plan was set up, you know, because it just makes no sense. So it's not going according to plan. You can say there was a 4-year project, fine. That could be true, but it's not going as planned. I can bet everything on that I have, you know. So you need to adjust. You need to adjust. So does Allegri. So does the club. And let's see. It's very interesting. It's very interesting to follow, to be honest, because a lot makes sense to bring him in, Giuntoli, and a lot of things are suggesting it's more unlikely than likely that he comes in. But again, early stages. That was the rumor. Weirdly, Napoli won the title yesterday, and that was kind of a big news being pushed. Very strange. You know, maybe it's a smokescreen. Maybe boom, in a couple of days he signs a new deal with Napoli. Who knows? But according to the sources, that's basically the main news for the day. He's gonna be the guy. He's gonna be the guy leading the quote-unquote new Juve into the future. Johnny saying from the Ligt and Romero to struggling to find a center back. Yeah, I don't care about Romero because I don't think he's a good center back. I just personally I don't rate Romero. Like, I think he's terrible, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie. You know, I don't like, he's a type of center back that's just all over the place. So I will never fall in love with him. I will never be like, oh, we lost Romero, because I don't think he's that great, to be honest. Same for Demiral. Same thing. I don't think they're great defenders or defenders that I want at a top club. Giuntoli would be our best signing since 2018. Ronaldo, you can even dispute that. She hates Allegri for sure. Allegri knows he will have to learn Chinese if Giuntoli comes in, or the meme. But yeah. Normally, sporting director comes in, maybe not in the first season, or maybe just in the first season. He wants to have his vision, and maybe that's what has been discussed with John Elkann. And maybe Elkann said, yeah, but you need to work with Allegri the first 2 seasons until he's gone, make it work, and maybe that's where Allegri's like, no, who knows? We'll probably get more info on that in the coming weeks, days, whatever, because it's still early. It's still early. Season is still going on for about a month and a week or something, or 2 weeks. So it will go quickly, but it's still a month and a week. And as well, we will have the verdict on the new points deduction. Apparently, before the last 2 games of the season. So at the beginning of June. Let's see. I don't believe it, but let's see. And then maybe the quote-unquote point deduction of the wage thing, that's probably going to be for next season, because if that's going to be in June and the club is appeal, you cannot make that happen in July and August, because playoffs, European playoffs, money transfers, it's a weird thing. And the UEFA pushing it, or the Gazzetta dello Sport putting out there, oh, the UEFA is going to punish them, punish you really quickly. And Calvo saying that seems already like a sentence, not as a rumor, kind of suggests that they know something is coming, But again, who knows? The Pau Torres thing seemed very strange yesterday, and then Romano confirmed it. So who knows? Moving for Pau Torres at this point is probably the most thoughtful planning we have had since Morata was the helm. That I agree with. But the weird part is who is doing that planning, because is it Calvo? Yeah, I don't know. It's very strange, It's very conflicting if you think about it, but I kind of agree with you. I'm going to wrap it up, because I've said I'm not going to keep you on for a very long time. I also need to still record a preview for the Atalanta game, so check that out tomorrow. Check out the podcast I made with Julian, like that. Subscribe to the channel. And yeah, tomorrow is a preview. Sunday, normally, like as planned, if everything goes as planned, Julian will do the match reaction. I will do a live match reaction later that evening, because I'm out all day. So stay tuned for that. Yeah, that's it. I'm all over the place now. But next week is a big week, because it's Sevilla again, like Europa League, at home against Sevilla. You need to make the difference at home against Sevilla. But let's see tomorrow, Sunday, because tomorrow is it Roma, Inter, and Lazio, Milan, or I'm mixing it up. Is it Roma, Milan, and no? I'm all over the place. It's Roma, Inter, and Lazio, Milan, something like that. So it's a big weekend, It's a big weekend, We can, quote unquote, take a step into top 4 if you believe the points deduction is not going to happen. Because I said that on the podcast, we need to have a miracle, and all the rest need to have a complete collapse, that even 9 points will put us in top 4. All the eggs are in the basket for the Europa League, in my opinion, because the rumor is that Vlahovic will be benched and be rested for the Europa League game. But again, let's see how that will go. Thanks for watching. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you again live Sunday evening to discuss the Atalanta game.